Welcome to this lab. In this lab, we are going to look at entity and sentiments analysis with the natural language API. So the overview here is the Cloud Natural Language API let you extract entities from text, perform sentiments and syntactic analysis, and classify text into category. In this lab, you will learn how to create a natural language API request and calling the API with curl. Extract the entities and running sentiments analysis on text with the natural language API. Perform linguistic analysis on text with the natural language API. And finally, create a natural language API request in a different language. So since we are going to use curl1 to send a request to the natural language API, we must generate a API key to pass in the request URL. Let's go to the API and services. And in the credentials, let's create a credential, select the API key. Okay, so the API key is selected, copy it and paste it somewhere in the notepad. Let's check my progress now. Yep, it's successful. So in order to perform the next step, please connect to the instance provided for you via the SSH. So we have to go to the virtual machine. Okay, click on the SSH button. So the browser is open and I will paste the I will need to set up the API key. Okay, so it is done. Now task 2, we're gonna make an entity analysis request. So the first natural language API method you use is analyze entities. With this method, the API can extract entities like people, places and events from the text. To try it out, the API entity analysis, you can use the following sentence. So first we will create request JSON file using this nano, which is a code editor. Okay, and we are here now inside. I will paste this coding, which is already done, and then press Ctrl X, Y, enter. Okay, to save the file. So in the request, you are telling the natural language API about the text being sent. Supported type values are plain text or HTML. Okay, let's check my progress now. Yep, all good. Move on to the task 3. We are going to call the natural language API. So this is the command that I will use. So in order to check the response, you can run this command, which is to read what is the response here. Yeah, this is the response I received. So after I open up the file, right, so I'm able to see the response. So the salience is a number in the 0-1 range that refers to the centrality of the entity to the text as a whole. So the natural language API can also recognize the same entity mentioned in different ways. So if you take a look at the mention list, right, in the response, the API is able to tell that Joanne Rowling Novelis and Robert Garibra all point to the same thing. Let's check my progress now. Yep, it's all good. Move on to the task 4, sentiment analysis with the natural language API. So in addition to extracting the entity, the natural language API also lets you perform sentiment analysis on the block of text. The JSON request will include the same parameter as the request above, but this time change the text to include something with a stronger sentiment. So again, we will use the nano. Let me clear this first. Okay, so we're going to, I think the best way is actually to delete the file and create again. Let me exit, and then remove the file, and we create again. Okay, so this time we will use another contents. Control X, Y, enter to save it. Now we will call the cur command again, and after the result is received, then we will save it. Then we will display it directly here. So notice that you get two types of sentiment value: the sentiments of for the document as a whole, and sentiment broken down by sentence. The sentiments method returns into two values. A score is the number from -1 to 1, indicating how positive or negative the statement is. Magnitude is a number ranging from 0 to infinity that represents the weight of the sentiment expressed in the statement, regardless of being positive or negative. So move on to the task file, analyzing the entity sentiment. So in addition to providing sentiment details on the entire text document, the natural language API can also break down sentiment by the entities in the text. Using this sentence as an example. Okay, I like the sushi, but the service was terrible. In this case, getting the sentiment score for the entire sentence, as you did above, might not be useful. If this was a restaurant review and there were hundreds of reviews for the same restaurant, you would want to know exactly which things people like and didn't like in their review. Fortunately, the natural language API has a method that lets you get the sentiments for each entity in the text, called analyze entity sentiments. Let's see how it works. Now again, we will remove the JSON file and we will create a new one again. Okay, Control X, Y, enter. Yep, save. So in the response, you get back two entity objects, one for sushi and one for the service. So this is the sushi, and here is all these segments here is talking about sushi, and the rest of these sections here are talking about the service. So you can see the score returned for sushi was a neutral score of 0, whereas the service got a score of negative 0.7. Cool. You also may notice that there are two sentiments object returned for each entity. If either of these terms were mentioned more than once, the API will return a different sentiment score and magnitude for each mention, along with the aggregation sentiments for the entity. So in the task 6, analyzing syntax and part of the speech, you can use syntactic analysis, another of the natural language API method, to dive deeper into linguistic detail of the text. Analyze syntax, extract linguistic information, breaking up given text into a series of sentences and tokens. Generally, word boundaries to provide further analysis on those tokens. For each word in the text, the API tells you the word part of speech, noun, verb, adjective, etc., and how it relates to other words in the sentence. Is it a root word or a modifier? Say we're going to remove the previous file. and do a new one again. Okay, Control X, Y, enter. So let's break down the response. Part of zero speech tells you that Joanne is a noun. Dependency H include data that you can use to create a dependency parse tree of the text. Essentially, this is how the diagram look like. And also we have the head of the token index is the index of the token that has an arc pointing at Joanne. Think of each token in the sentence as a word in an array. Okay, head of index of 1, Joanne refers to the word rolling, which is it is connected to the tree. The label NN short for noun compound modifier describe the word roll in sentence. Joanne modify rolling the subject of the sentence. And then lemma is a canonical form of the word. For example, the words runs, run, and running all have a lemma of run. The lemma value is useful for tracking occurrences of a word in a large piece of text over time. We are going to look at task 7, multilingual natural language processing. So the natural language API also support language other than English. Okay, so I have saved the file. Now I'm going to analyze the file. This is the response that I get. Okay, so right, thank you so much. And we have finished the lab. You can end the lab now.